Welcome back to Queued Up. Davis is joining me once again. We are on the cusp of MSI, and we're going to talk about the teams and rank them to our ratings on how we perceive them. We have a lot to go over, but how are you doing today?
Doing good. Excited for MSI. We're going to get a new champion. Jinji not here, so excited for that. Maybe it'll be an NA team. Who knows?
Who knows?
Make the miracle run.
I love that. Oh my gosh, that'd be best on the eve of like this year. I think it's like one of the anniversaries of Team Liquid losing to G2 in the finals, which is so tragic. But here we are. We're going to start ranking them. We'll pull up our list, and starting off, we have Deep Cross Gaming, one of the newcomers from the LCP. So the LCP actually has two newcomers this year that are fully taking over. No Flying Oysters, unfortunately, this time, or GAM. Tragic, but it is what it is. Right now, we have Deep Cross Gaming. We're going to throw them the D there because, like, this is a team that doesn't have as much experience for it. They're kind of coming from the middle of the pack of the regular season of the LCP. And then we're really unable to kind of get a good showing against Team Secret Worlds in the grand finals. The upper finals was a little bit better for them, but unfortunately, I think they're just not going to have enough experience to really make a dent in this event.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's been a great miracle run to see them go from like the 5th seed or whatever it was, making it through the bracket and making it to MSI. And it's a really good feat for this team. Like you said, they don't have very much experience, so they will get some international experience from this event, even if it is a very short event for them, because it's going to be a tough play-in stage regardless. So, you know, flowers to them because they've made it this far, but I do not have much hope in them.
Now, their one good saving note is they are at least starting off against KC. So when you think about it, T1 is going against Team Liquid, so it's a little bit of the harder. So
you could be Team Liquid. You could get the short end of the stick.
Yeah, so maybe you get a couple games, maybe take at least 1 or 2 off of KC, and that, maybe they could, get some good confidence boost after that, and maybe go after, possibly Team Liquid. I'm kind of giving off my my little bit of a bracket there for talking about brackets a little bit, but you never know. Nah, Team Liquid's going to 3-0. Easy.
Thank you.
But we're going to go ahead and move on a little bit. We're going to go to Furia, and this is a team I'm excited to see in an international event. Unfortunately, they didn't make first stand, but we saw them in the America's Cup. They wiped us here in the LCS just completely. Sentinels, C9 didn't stand a chance. Tatu, I think, is going to be a big driving force for this team. He is a really aggressive jungler that I think really propels this team to that great international level. He is going to have a lot of, tough competition, though. He has Inspired, Skimon, Kanavi, you name it, Owner, if Owner's on top of his game. So this team, I think, solid B. Really good team. You definitely can't count them out after all the showing that CBLOL has definitely showed over the couple of years, and I definitely don't think they're a dark horse anymore.
Yeah, I agree. I think the main thing for me is the way that they played at the America's Cup, because I thought the America's Cup was going to be won by an LCS team with no problem, but then Furia comes up and just ruins the whole bracket for everybody, and they kind of did it in a very dominant fashion too. And I mean, the teams that we put out there, Sentinels, they were a little bit on the up and up, and C9, they're up and down. They were the dominant team in the regular season, and then they show up at the playoffs and then international. Yeah, then they just flop. But those are two decent teams, and teams that obviously we're a little bit biased to the LCS because we're fans of that. But I thought that they would handle their business against Furia, but Furia completely turned that around. Like you said, mainly off the back of Tatu. It'll be very interesting to see him go against some of the best junglers in the world, because I do think he's a good jungler. But like you said, whenever you're playing against people like Kanavi and you're playing against top-tier junglers, it's going to get very difficult. So I do think that they are a solid team. So I think B is a very fair rating, but it'll be interesting to see how they go up against the world's best.
It will be. I mean, definitely like to see them play, and hopefully they can get a good bracket so they can get a good run through it, and we can see them maybe face off against Lions, so see if we can get some redemption or not. But here we are. Good luck to them. Next is G2. So G2, A for me. They have to be an A.
I agree. I mean, with the showing that they gave us at first stand, I'm sure that some LEC watchers would cope and say that this is an S tier team.
Right.
Like we almost won first stand, but I do think A is fair. I think you got to save S tier for those like solidified giants. They're always in the mix at international events. G2 is also, pulling upsets, but I don't think they've reached the S tier level. It's a great team. They have great laners. I know that we had talked about it a little bit before. We think that the bot lane is the spot that really needs to like up their game if they want to compete with some of these, Eastern dominant teams, because we know what you're going to get from Caps. He's one of the best mid laners in the world, and then you know what you're going to get from Skimon most of the time. Like if you go back, if he's the Skimon that he was at first stand, he's going to be one of the best junglers at the event. So I think the bot lane is the place that I look at, and also you look at, is this duo has to step up if they want to compete.
Yeah, because you have a lot of depth coming out of BB. He can play that Yeser, he can play the tanks, he can play the Kled even at the time. So, kind of mix up how the other teams are going to have to adjust to him. But at that same time, if he's playing these, you kind of need your bot side to, step it up a little bit as well. Because if he loses off, and especially when you're going against Zeus, who's returned to that 2024 form that made him so strong, or you're going up against Ben, who has already, proven himself against you earlier at first stand, then you need that bot lane to really, pick it up. Hansama, though, he just got his contract extension, so maybe he's going to feel it this tournament. We saw how well they did through the playoffs. They really stepped it up after that split to play regular season through the LEC. We saw that G2 that everyone knows and loves in playoffs. And then usually they level up. They did the same thing in the first split, going in the first stand. First stand, they come out of nowhere, surprise everyone. Definitely a solid A-tier team for me. I think if they can maybe even make it to finals again, maybe they move up into that S-tier, though.
Yeah, I agree. I think if they make it to another final for the international this year, they have to be in the S-tier thing, because it's like, 2 international events, 2 grand finals, they've got to be in the S-tier.
Yeah. We'll move on, though. HLE, SSS.
Yep.
This is top of the line S-tier team right now.
Yep.
They are just a lot of fun to watch all around. But for me, the big thing is, as you said, Kanavi. He's come over from the LPL to the LCK. And, during that first split, the LCK Cup, he, was kind of finding his ground. It seems once he turned back into that, I'm just going to play that same LPL aggressive style jungling, this team has become magnitudes better. And from it, Zeka and Zeus are both benefiting from it. Right now, Gumayushi seems to be probably the best weak side AD carry, because he knows how his other teammates can carry, but he's also putting out really good damage, so he's kind of covering for himself there. So I'm really excited to see this team, especially the matchups with Zeka versus a lot of the other mid laners. Like you said, I want to see him against Caps right there, because I think that'd be a great duel.
100%. Zeka's playing like one of the best mid laners in the LCK, and we know just how stacked the mid laners are in that region. But this team's a super team. This is the team that we all expected this team to be. When they first formed the roster, and you look at it on paper, it's like every single slot on this roster is filled with a superstar. And in the first stage, they obviously didn't have that good of a showing in the LCK. But I think they were just trying to figure out how they wanted to play the game together. You have Delight and Gumayushi trying to figure out how they want to, navigate a bot lane together. They're brand new. But overall, this team has, through this second split, the spring, has really, really grown into being the world powerhouse, and the powerhouse that we kind of all expected. You have Kanavi coming in. He was one of the best junglers last year with Top Esports. He led them to a good LPL season. He comes over, and now he's leading up HLE to have the same season here.
Yeah, and also, what can you say right now? Gumayushi is going to be stealing more of the objectives, so you have a backup jungler along with him. Delight also, I kind of hope he steps a little bit of this. We know he did sit out a couple games at the kind of towards the tail end of the LCK, and then since he's come back, they've been playing really well together. They completely just 3-1 T1 in that the upper match for the LCK Road to MSI. They won that pretty easily, except for that one game that they dropped was a little bit closer than probably needed to be for them. And right now, when you're beating T1 like that, you're beating the likes of Genji, KT, and everyone like that. It's hard to not put them at the top of the list.
Yeah, they got to be at the top.
Top of the list right there. But we're going to move on to our very objectively biased team, Lion. S-tier all the way up. Just kidding, hold that. But this is a team that, if I'm being realistic, I'm having a hard time putting between B tier and A tier.
Man, I almost wish there was another tier there.
Yeah, kind of just like a little bit in the middle. Right now, let's put them in A, kind of at the end of A.
Yeah.
Because I think this team, if playing at their max power, or, at the top of their game the whole entire time, has the ability to maybe take games off of like the second seeds from the eastern regions, right? And even taking games off of the likes of G2. When we see Saint playing at his best, he is really great mechanically. We've seen him dominate those mid lanes. We just know how strong that bot lane between Isles and Berserker can be. And Isles has really stepped into his own. And of course, just the shot calling and vision from Inspired really helps out. And then Big Dokes, what can you say about him? They brought in Castle to kind of be this like, driving force, who's going to get that playing spot. And since then, Castle hasn't done the best, but then Dokla just really stepped up. Yeah.
I think, and that's, I don't know if that kind of was their mindset for bringing him in, or if they were like genuinely considering like, look, Dokla's not playing that good, let's bring another guy in and see. But I think Dokla always does the best when his back's against the wall. Last year we saw it against 100 Thieves, like people were doubting him then. they go on a great run and do very well at Worlds for their standards, what we thought going into the event. So he's always good. The thing I'm most excited to see, though, from this is their bot lane compete against a lot of these Eastern teams. Berserker, by far the best ADC so far in the LCS this year. I'm really excited to see how he matches up against some of these other ADCs from around the world. If he gets to play the likes of like HLE, or if he gets to play Viper over BLG, like those matchups are the one that I'm more excited to see. I don't know if this is a team that I think has a great chance of like making a grand finals run or even winning the event, but I do think that they can have a really good international experience as a team, like seeing how they can match up as a bot lane against other bot laners. Also, I think you mentioned him earlier, Saint going against some of the mid laners here at this event. I think it's a good growth opportunity for those players. We know Inspired has the experience. He's been at Worlds. He's been at MSIs a lot before, and we know he's one of the best junglers in the world. So I'm not as interested to see how he plays, but I am very interested to see how some of these other young players play.
Especially Isles. I think he did really well in first stand of learning what he is needed for with this team. And then since then, he's done a really good job mechanically. And especially also just learning where he needs to be on the map at certain times. He's definitely grown a lot during that over the split too. The issue, though, is that kind of what we're talking about with like some of these other teams is that they have fallen to like other teams like FlyQuest and everything during the regular season. And then they come into playoffs and just completely dominate everyone. But my also thought is, how good were some of those other teams in playoffs that, they had to face? They had to face Team Liquid, which they 3-0'd. They 3-0'd C9 just completely into oblivion there. But how strong were those teams that they 3-0'd at that point? Kind of makes me worry just a little bit, which is why I was kind of maybe thinking B tier, because I felt like this split for LCS was a little bit weak. But at the same time, they did get the 3-0s, which matters for them being strength-wise. I think that when they get to this event, they can give a really solid showing to maybe take a couple games off, maybe even surpass what we saw from FlyQuest last year, where they almost got that win over the LPL in that lower bracket, which I was there for, and unfortunately sitting in the front, and it was so sad, seeing that Zillion picked. Hopefully, all I hope is just that we do have better drafting this time if we reach that game, number 5. But hopefully they do well. We'll move on to top esports here. This team, I'm gonna put them in the A, kind of actually behind G2 in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree. I think they're a little bit. I mean, obviously they're an LPL team. They're very established as an organization. They've been here a lot, but I do think it's. I'm kind of surprised to see them here, to be honest. I was hoping we would see maybe JDG, or obviously Anyone's Legend has been a great team for the last year and a half, 2 years. So I was expecting to see one of those teams, but we get top esports. They're obviously a very good team too, because they proved themselves through the bracket.
Yeah.
But I do think they are probably. It kind of like a Deep Cross, honestly, a little bit. They're obviously better than Deep Cross. But if you look at it kind of like a miracle run perspective, I think they may have had a great run through the playoffs. They're still going to be a really good team, but I thought we would see another representative from LPL.
I mean, they did stop Team WE's miracle run as well, which kind of just helped boost them on. Right now, I think the big thing for me is them maybe still trying to find their synergy, because 369 did take his step down. So they maybe might need to find that top synergy throughout the whole entire team. And I also have, a little bit of bias from how they did from first stand last year, where they have this great, LPL season leading up to first stand, and then they get to first stand, and then the top esports curse just kind of hits, and they just kind of fall flat off of it. And we've seen what G2 can do to the likes of every other region. They, even put down Gen G. So when I'm thinking about when getting to international events and how teams have, performed in international events, unfortunately, top esports hasn't always done the best. They maybe nerves or just something gets to them, whereas like a team like G2 kind of thrive in these environments. So right now, I think it's a good place to hold them, because unfortunately they just weren't able to hold a candle to BLG in the grand finals, even though they beat them early on and sent BLG down to the lower at the very beginning. Sorry, I actually got that mixed up, because it was BLG who had to go through the lower bracket to the grand finals, and that's who actually ended Team WE's chance was BLG. But in that grand finals, BLG's completely walked our top esports.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I just think it's kind of amazing. Like I said, I don't think this is a bad team by any means, but I just think with how the year's gone, 369 stepping down, Nayu having his whole debacle that happened with him, it's kind of crazy that they were still able to make it to the international event. So it's kind of sick that they're there. Kind of surprising, but I mean, who knows? I mean, they're an LPL team. They will be good. It's just a matter of how good they will be. So should be interesting.
Right, T1, straight to the top. but behind HLE.
But behind
We're still
HLE,
going to
yeah.
glaze them though, because
Yeah.
it's T1. I mean, when you're thinking about it as well, coming into this tournament, HLE beats you in the road to MSI. They send you down. That means your next opponent is going to be someone that's moving up the ladder, and one of those teams is Gen G, who genuinely gets the best of you in most of these like qualification tournaments in the regular season until you get to Worlds, right?
Yep.
This time, that's not the case. Pays has come to this team and has looked amazing. Most pentakills that we're getting out of an AD carry right now. On top of that, you have Doran, who's just playing solid. He doesn't need, again, to be that shining star.
Yep.
He can when he needs to be, but he's just a really solid top laner. Baker, you wouldn't guess that he's, what, turning 39 this week?
He's just Faker.
Right? He's just Faker, right?
Yep.
You know, and then Curie, of course, it's just, you know, enabling Pace to even be that better AD carry because we know how good he is. The issue I have with them, and the reason I'm not putting them above HLE, even besides them losing in that that road to MSI match, is because Owner right now kind of seems to be on and off at times. And I think for them to really shine, he needs to be the Owner that we see at Worlds a lot of times that can really take over the jungle, help them secure objectives and lane pressure.
Yeah, I agree, because you need that top side pressure. Like, we know what we're going to get. They're one of the best bot lanes in the world, one of the best mid lanes in the world. Doran, he's a solid top laner. He's not going to be a guy that takes over the game most of the time. He does have that ability, but the way this team plays isn't playing through Doran a lot of the time. So you need that jungler to be able to be relevant as well if you want to contest those top side objectives and make those plays on the top side of the map. So I agree. I think Owner's a player you have to look at. He usually steps up at international events, so I have no doubt that he will be there. And obviously, I think T1's a very good shout to be an S tier. I think the one thing that you could maybe argue against them is it's MSI. You know, T1's not known to play great at MSI.
I mean, last year, though, was a really good run.
Yeah.
I enjoyed watching them a lot. You know, I got to see them up to that semifinal match where they did play, you know, and getting to the grand finals. Unfortunately, grand finals, they just fell flat against, you know, once again to Gen G.
Yeah.
Unless Gen G at MSI, if they're there, it just seems to be almost
win.
an auto win. But they're not here, so it could be anyone's game. You know, so maybe we see that, you know, the Lee Sin Owner that we saw halfway through the LCK, if that pops out, that's definitely going to be a team that's making a run for the grand finals, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If not, then they might struggle a little bit. So we'll have to see. But again, as I said, I think their biggest deterrent, which is usually Gen G, is not here right now, which gives them a really good chance.
Kind of the same narrative as Worlds, too. From the play-in stage, maybe to the grand final. We'll see.
That's where they are best. And unfortunately, they have to take on this next team first, which is Team Liquid. And both of these teams aren't playing teams. So Liquid, I'm going to be a little harsh with them, to be honest. I have them in C tier.
Okay.
I don't know how
I think I would put them in B, but I think C. I think you could definitely argue C. I think they have B. I don't think they have the capabilities of being an A team, but I think they do have capabilities of being a B team. But a lot of the time, we do see them as a C team.
And the reason I say C, and it comes down to, again, that grand finals between them and Lion, but it's also like the other games. If they can't get ahead, which I think is going to be really hard against teams like T1 and KC in those playing matches, they just don't seem to thrive. They don't really seem to find a way back. And again, you know, we talk a lot about junglers, and Jose Diodo has definitely stepped up a lot. The issue for me comes into play is, how is their bot lane and then mid going to fare? Because they haven't been the best. Core has been really good. Jan hasn't been what we expect out of him this season. So can they, as you said, they've exhibited B qualities, but we just haven't seen them enough for me to want to put them in that B tier.
Yeah, and we've seen them a lot at C quality as well. So I think it's very valid to be able to put them at C. The main thing for me is I just don't think they have that like shining light, I would call it. Like when you look at Lion, and obviously, and the other teams we talked about too, Furia. Like Furia's shining light is Tatu, and Lion's shining light is like Berserker. They also have Inspired. Liquid doesn't have like that shining light, in my opinion. They have good players. Jose Diodo's played very, very good. Core and Yon are like staples of this team. They've, kept this core to try to build along with it. They brought in Morgan, they brought in Quid, but none of these players I think are at their best right now to be like the guy that, okay, we know bot lane's going to win, or we know mid lane's going to win, we know top lane's going to win. All their guys are like pretty good, and they could show up and happen to win a match, but can you win a series against like the best teams in the world doing that? I just don't think that happens.
Yeah, and there's no slouches in this plane either. Like their first matches against KC, who has proven to be very, very good, and we'll talk about them in a actually, we don't even have them on here. That's one team I actually missed.
We
need to put them on there.
Yeah.
We'll still rate them all. I'll add them in there. My bad, KC Blue Wall, because I had a lot of good things to say about you, and still will say about you.
Yeah, we will.
But and I just going to talk about them right now. Is KC's a really good aggressive team that just really knows how to get stuff done. Team Liquid, on the other hand, they don't. And I think you talked about Quid. We saw how well he did previously, but he hasn't really, brought that over to this team just yet. And it's kind of weird because when you think about it, this team was built with almost all Koreans in mind, except for Jose Dioto, right? You have some of the residency on Jan, on Core JJ, who have been here so long, and then of course you have Jose Dioto rounding it out for the LTA, or for the North America representatives, right?
Yeah.
But then you're bringing in Quid, who did really good on 100 Thieves last year, and then you're bringing in Morgan, who has that experience from the LCK that's supposed to, be able to go toe-to-toe with everyone, and we haven't seen it quite happen just yet.
Yeah.
And it's kind of weird because you think that this would be a thriving environment for those players, yet the best one so far has been Jose Dioto.
Yeah, exactly. You would think Jose Dioto would be like the weakest one, but he's been the pillar, the guy that's brought them forward and gave them so much success so far in this season. The one I look at the most is probably Morgan. Like, I thought this was going to be a guy, not that comes in and just like elevates this team to the very top, but when you're playing against some of these LCS top laners, like, they're honestly not the best in the LCS in the top lane. Like, he should be able to hold his weight and if not carry some games. But we really haven't seen that from him much. He's kind of been the guy that's like, okay, you play Sion in top lane, you play Cassante in top lane, and you do your thing on the tanks. And the rest of us will like kind of figure out the game. But I thought he was going to be more of a guy that can come in and like when you're going up against the likes of like, I don't know, maybe Castle's been really good, but just the other top laners in the LCS, I thought he would be a guy that's like at that very S tier, A tier top laners, and he just hasn't been that guy for me.
Yeah, someone who maybe can go toe-to-toe with Thanatos, right? Because Thanatos has been running the top lane, and honestly, I was kind of wanted to see him against some of these top teams again. Fortunately, C9 falling flat, and it is what it is, but we'll have to see how they go forward. This team, I want to keep them here at a C, just so my expectations aren't so high, and if they do get knocked out pretty early, I won't be too sad here.
Yeah. Just go ahead. We'll do KC now.
We'll do KC, and we put them in there. So honestly, KC is hitting in that very strong B tier for me right now. This is a team with Busio, with Kalist, with just literally almost everyone that you can think of on the team. The issue is just that they haven't been able to overcome that hump of G2 just yet. Mm-hmm. So, and I think when that happens and we have G2 and A, I still think it would be hard for them to even go against the likes of Lion if Lion's playing on their A game. Maybe it would still be like a 3-2 type of deal. But it's, again, it just seems like that little cutting edge just hasn't really been there for the Blue Wall just yet. And they're very good mechanically across like their whole entire team. We definitely see Busio probably as the best support in the West still and very uplifting their bot lane. But at the same time, they kind of fall off in the jungle just a little bit. Yeah. Yahoo has been very good as well, but I still haven't seen him as just like the mechanical monster that we've seen as some other mid laners. Mm-hmm. So I think keeping him at a B is pretty solid for now because they definitely could upset in the play-in, in my opinion. If any team has the ability to upset T1 in the play-in, it would be KC. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that they will.
Yeah, I agree. I think the one that I look at and I'm more excited to see, kind of like I was saying with a lot of the Lion squad, I'm really excited to see Kehu in the mid lane as well go up against some of the, it's the best teams in the world, like we've already talked about. If he gets the chance to play against T1 in the play-in stage, playing against Faker, if they make it out of the play-in stage and he can get some reps in against like maybe a Zeka or some of these other mid laners from around the world, Knight even for BOG, I want to see him and how they can match up against some of these powerhouses of the world. So I think it's a very strong team. They have a lot of fans behind them that'll be pulling for them. Obviously, it's not a home event like it would be in the LEC, but still they have a very big fan base behind them. I'm sure that they'll be on their A game, or try to be at least.
I'm definitely going to be excited, though, for Yike versus Jose Dioto. I think that'll be a really good matchup, though, in that first round. I do give a slight edge to Yike at the moment because I think Yike has been playing very good throughout it. Yahoo as well, maybe over Quid, definitely, because Yahoo has been, very strong mechanically, not really losing at times. And then Kana versus Morgan, I think could be a little bit
interesting.
I think it'll be interesting. Kana is definitely up here for me. Morgan is kind of like here. I think this could be a time for Morgan to really show his worth and get up here. Yeah. But definitely, I think Kana will be a really good winning point for this team as well going into it.
Yeah, I agree.
So we'll move on. So we have only 2 teams left. Team Secret Whales. This is the team that has taken over the LCP right now. Mm-hmm. Just this second split, undefeated. I think they only dropped 3 matches total, right, out of their series. They went undefeated in series, only dropped 3 matches. kind of ran through the playoffs, had a little bit of trouble against Deep Cross in some of their games. But other than that, this is just a fun team to watch. This region has gotten very, very aggressive, I think, after playing against Flying Oysters and GAM last year. This is just what this region has kind of turned into. And you watch some of those games, they are slugfest. But I think because they're slugfest, it could be a little bit of a issue that if they aren't able to get ahead aggressive early game, and just win off the early game, they might fall off. I have them kind of in that C tier right now as well. Definitely a team that could show up and win some games, but it might be hard for them.
Yeah, I agree. I think C is very fair. I don't think they're quite to the level of a B team to where, last year we did see them at Worlds too, but they didn't have the greatest showing. But that was some international experience. So they're coming back this year. So they will have that experience under their belt. But kind of like we talked about earlier, these aggressive play styles, when you're playing against the best teams in the world, it's kind of hard to catch these teams off guard. When you're playing an aggressive play style, you're doing it to try to catch the enemy off guard. They don't expect this play coming. But when you're playing against best teams in the world, they already have thought about that possibility of the play happening. So when you do it, they might not be in the exact position to counter it right then, but they know how to get out of that situation and not give up too much. So you're not getting the advantage that maybe you're losing. They know how to trade it on the other side of the map. You invade the top side jungle, okay, we'll let you do that. We'll take bottom side something. So they just know how to navigate things very well. And I think in the LCP, especially last year, we saw it with the CFO play style. I think that aggressive play style, teams don't really know how to cope with it as much. Yeah. And I don't think this team has the star power that CFO team had to kind of overcome things at international events. CFO last year with Hong Q and Doggo and everybody that they had, Junja, they were able to they made the crazy plays, and they were mechanically good enough to also just beat you in the fight straight up whenever you try to counter it. So we'll see what happens this year with teams.
Yeah, and then unfortunately we saw what happened when those two left as well. When Junja and Hong Q left, unfortunately that team fell down, which shows just how big that star power was for the likes of that team who just completely almost ran the whole entire LCP last year. And then once they leave, unfortunately, it falls off. So now we have new talent trying to rise up, and we'll have to see if that does come out of this Team Sugar Wells team, because they've been doing great domestically. Now we just have to see how they do internationally at this MSI event. And at least they get to the instant, playing or past the playing stage, so they're in groups already. So they have a little bit of room to maneuver, and maybe, if they drop one match, they can potentially try to come back in another. We'll have to see how they fare off, though. They are a very fun team to watch when you do watch them in the LCP, so I hope we see the same here at MSI. But I think C kind of gives them some room to grow, and if they do fall off, it's kind of to be expected, but we could potentially, as you said, maybe see them in that B tier because they do exempt some of those qualities sometime.
Yeah, 100%.
Last but not least, BLG, the first stand reigning champions coming into this event. We have started off for, I think, the first time in a while with a non-LCK team coming out. This team looks very good. They are very scary when they are playing at all cylinders. Right now, I have them probably in that S tier in between HLE and T1 right now.
I agree. I think they're a great team. They obviously proved that at first stand. Their solo laners are tremendous, and they also have a great ADC now with Viper coming over this year. So I kind of think everywhere except the jungle, in my opinion, they have kind of a very, very S tier champion in their, or player in their role. And so I think they're a very scary team. It just comes down to how good can you play in the jungle, in my opinion, when you go up against, I think HLE and BLG are the two teams that I look at that if they both made the grand final, I would not be very surprised at all. But I personally would give it to HLE because I think the jungle kind of in HLE is just better than BLG. So that's why I would give it to them. But overall, BLG is still a tremendous team.
Yeah, and I mean, we took a look at how they went through first stand, just completely dominating everyone, having a really good finalist against G2 as well. I think if teams mix up meta a little bit, that's where maybe BLG might struggle a little bit if it's not super meta for them. We'll have to see how they come out because, of course, we're patching today. We're having the whole patch come out today, which gives the teams, maybe they've been playing on a tournament server for a little bit with this patch, possibly in their scrims and everything, but at the same time, it's still not like you have tons and tons of play time on this. So, of course, most MSIs will see, something start out in play-ins, which then transitions to the group stage, which by the time we get to grand finals,
they'll
could
be learning
be
the whole
completely
time.
Different. Right, yeah. So we'll have to see how this adjusts. Unfortunately, no Lock, so we can't say that we'll see him just yet. But, I mean, with some of the changes, maybe it could go in their favor or not. I know we have this big Senna nerf coming out, so maybe some of those weak side, playstyles for the ADCs may not be as viable going into it. We'll have to see how those adjustments are made.
Yeah.
So when you think about it, Ben, though, A lot of good carries for him at the top lane also. But as you said, Viper maybe just gets on some of those carries and can completely take off.
Yeah, 100%. I think Knight in the mid lane as well, he's tremendous. And also, I know I kind of made it sound like Jun's just like a pushover jungle. It's not that I think he's a bad jungle by any means. It's just when you compare it to someone like I was comparing it to HLE, I think HLE is cream of the crop right now. I would just consider Kanavi a little bit better than Jun, so I would give them the favor. But I mean, Jun against most of the junglers in this tournament, he's the better option than them. So they're a great team regardless. I think very worthy of S tier.
Okay. So we kind of got your grand finals. So if you had to do your top 3 right now, who are you going with?
I think I'm going with our S tier. I think I would just go with our S tier. Yeah, Hamla, T1, and BLG. And I honestly think that G2 would be my next team that I would give possibility of creeping into that group. I just think that, I mean, T1 just always clutches up. They have the clutchest players in the thing. So I think I would just give it over G2.
So right now, I think if I was going to say who I think would come in third, maybe like my finals, I think are kind of really similar to yours, where I think it might end up being, depending on how brackets play out, and of course, and everything, if it was like HLE, BLG, but then BLG possibly beats G2 to get there. I could see G2 kind of making that run again, just surprising, like maybe a T1 with like some of those like in-depth picks coming out of top lane that just gives them a little bit of the edge. I kind of want to see it because I want to see, a team go up. Unfortunately for Lion, I still think they need just a little bit more growth before they can get to that point just yet. They'd maybe fall off in a match against, hopefully.
And I think it's a great learning experience for Lion in the sense of we've seen comms from them this year come out from Inspired and from Saint and from other players talking about they need to be more decisive in moments. I think that will still happen here at MSI, but they'll get to eye these Eastern teams to see how they react in these moments. Because, I'm sure they watch scrims from them from time to time to see how these other teams play. But when you're actively about to play this team, you're actively studying their game to a T. You're seeing all their moves and you're watching it hyper-focused on it. So I think those will be very good learning experiences for Inspired to be like, hey, look what Faker's doing here. Look how he's taking over. He's being very decisive in his movements. Saying this is what we need from you to do in this moment. I think it'll be just a good all-around learning experience for this team, and I think they'll level up from it.
How many banger voice comm replays are we going to get out of Lion?
I hope we get a lot.
Me too.
Because those are the best. And I love how honest this team is with each other. Because, a lot of people have been coming out saying they're toxic and they're this and that. They're harsh to each other. But I think all these guys are just super invested in winning. And they want to make the best plays at all the time. So when someone doesn't make a best play, they're not scared to call it out because the person sitting across from them knows that it's not a personal attack. It's just okay, that was the wrong play, and he's letting me know. So I think I actually love the makeup of their team being able to do that. Some teams can't handle it, and some people don't like it. But I think if all of your team is invested in that and they're okay with that, it's fine.
Yeah. Definitely S-tier comms coming out of that team, so they do win in that category there. But
they're probably the S+ tier.
They are they're definitely S+ tier. That is going to be our rankings for it. I will make sure I get the KC added in there. Blue Wall, I'm sorry, I apologize. You guys are definitely up there, though. Definitely having them in that B tier, though. Could move up to A, but this is what we got. We're a couple of days away. We'll have to see how this fares out. We'll definitely bring you guys some more content as MSI goes on. We'll talk about those play-in matches, then we'll talk about group stages once they hit us. And then right after that, we have more League of Legends with the EWC, so we'll talk about that when it comes up. Thank y'all. We'll see you next time.
And we'll have a big episode when Lion wins.
We do. Definitely a big episode.
Yeah.